Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning and welcome to a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the International Diamond Center Studios, where all jewelry purchases in June are 0% APR until 2030. The only diamond and jewelry partner of the Florida Gators. If you missed it last night, OKC Thunder take a 3-2 lead. They can close it out Thursday night in Indianapolis against the Pacers. The Arkansas Razorbacks throw a no-hitter. Should have been a perfect game, quite honestly. I think it's the only third no-hitter in the College World Series. And I'm not sure who won the other game because there was a rain delay. Let's go to the Titan MRI hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by the one and the only Buddy Martin. Good morning, buddy. How you doing?
Good morning, Shane. I was hoping you'd be able to tell me because I didn't stay up for that late game. I watched TV all day. But what a magnificent performance by Gage Wood. I looked into that summit. Everything about that kid, I love what he did. He tossed the ball to his dad as a late Father's Day gift. And as soon as the game was over, he was one pitch away from perfection. They asked him about it, and what'd you think? He said, I shouldn't have hit the guy. He had one pitch away from perfection.
Yeah.
Then he went over to the opposing dugout at Murray State and got his high school teammate and hugged him on a night day when his high school teammate had big dreams too as the underdog. So this kid is something special. He'll be a big league pitcher, and Shane, 119 pitches.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was talking to someone that knows college baseball, and they asked me, they're like, well, why didn't they pitch this guy against LSU? Well, he's not their ace. He's like their third guy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean he would have pitched that way against LSU.
No.
By the way, LSU and UCLA will resume at 11 a.m. this morning.
Oh, okay. So we didn't miss anything. So there you go.
Yeah.
I can't watch it all, Shane. I'm trying to. I'm watching everything. It's just more than I can handle. Listen, we both had our lives wiped out by the U.S. Open last week. About 30 hours of our life we'll never get back. And what a tournament. But I still have a mixed opinion about that.
I know we'll get that in a second. I wanted to, we're about a month away, buddy. I think yesterday was exactly a month away from SEC Media Days. Think about that.
Oh, I can't. Yep. I can't.
It's here. It'll be here before you know it. It will be here before you know it.
It's here. I'm going to get a chance to have a little tiny vacation with my family for the first time in the Panhandle. My son and daughter, granddaughter, I'm really looking for it. But now, boom, right back in it, Shane. We never get a break.
Never. No, just plug away. Speaking of the U.S. Open, I was texting with a couple of guys that play, high school and college golf. And they thought this was terrible by the USGA, the setup, having them continue playing in the rain. And you know what my response was to them, buddy?
I know.
Hit the damn ball in the fairway.
You love it.
But that's what golfers, guys that do it for a living, and when courses are set up very difficult, you eventually hear players complain about it, right? Just like I don't know if it was you or JC, I play with some guys that are very good golfers that were college golfers, and they hit it crazy, right? Every now and then, and they're on a route in the woods, and they're bitching about it. The last time I checked, buddy, they don't plant trees in the fairways. That's what I tell them all the time. They get so mad. And I'm just like, look, I'm just an average golfer that loves the game.
Yeah.
And you should be penalized if you miss the fairway. And that's what Oakmont did so well. And some people don't like it, but I think it was phenomenal.
Well, yeah, you make a great point. Most people feel that way. And I just bring this other side up. I'm a journalist to make sure both are represented. When you make it impossible and you get the kind of breaks that our friend did on when he wanted the water, he wanted to call two officials over to get lift clean in place, whatever. And then he hits the ball and squish it, and the next thing you know, he's gone double bogey. He lost the open there. Tough break. Golf is some you win, some you lose, some you break even on. But it was too bad. And here's the thing. I'm going to go back and see this one more time. If I want a masterpiece, if I want to say, Shane, if I want to see the greatest artist of all time, and I'm in New York at the Museum of Modern Art, they say we're going to have the masters are going to be here, the greatest artists. And I go in and I don't know much about art, but I know that Van Gogh was pretty good. I know that, and Monet was pretty good and so on. And if I go to the first 4 or 5 guys and none of those guys are there, it's just not the same if the top people aren't there.
But
Now finish up
I hear
golf.
what you're saying. But so during the rain delay, they showed the replay of the 2008 US Open.
I saw it
Okay, who was Tiger playing against?
himself.
Lynn Matisse.
Yeah.
No, Rocco Mediate. I'm sorry, Rocco
Uh,
Mediate.
Who, by the way, was just that was the day of his life. Or
Right. But that's the great thing about golf is,
Mhm.
I mean, honestly, right now, this day of sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. You put the star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union, where Steve Spurrier banks. U.S. Open, Oakmont, on this date, 1973. Johnny Miller shoots 63, wins his first major. You know who he beat, buddy?
Yeah, I have it down. I actually saw it. I was there at that tournament, but he shot
Okay,
that early in
but
the morning.
my point is the dude he beat was John Schlee,
Yeah, and he was a decent player.
Schle. Never heard of the guy in my entire
Oh yeah,
life.
no, I've heard he was a decent player. He wasn't that bad a player. Yeah,
I
I'm
know,
thinking it's not going to be. No, I get what you're saying, but the Rocco Mediate is not going to be Jack Nicklaus either. The bottom line is that I understand that you have to have rules, but let me just make this case and get off this because I don't. I like what I saw, and I like a fair test. I'm with you. If you don't want to do it, don't hit it over there. But the deal is that you're talking about a great piece of land. The fountains put all their lifetime earnings in it. They made it pristine. They had fairways look like Indianapolis 500. Their greens look like a terrazzo floor. The bunkers look like a Grand Canyon. Okay. And they took this property, which was theirs, they put their life into it. Shane, they took down 15,000 trees, some of them in the middle of the
Uh,
night. And, they did doctor up the property. I mean, I understand change, and they wanted what they got. So if you're a purist, you say, let's not do it that way. Let's don't go to Pebble Beach and put 19 more bunkers in. Then you have to say, well, was that the best thing to do? It didn't produce the best result for the marquee on the leaderboard, but I take nothing from J.J. Spawn. He listen. He made 5 straight 5s to start the day off. He was dead in the water and came back and won it.
but if you go back and you look at the history of the U.S. Open, the top players in the world don't always win it. That's
No,
my point.
no.
I
I,
don't need to see the top players in the world win week in and week out.
I
Uh,
got you. I got you, and I've
yeah,
covered probably 20 U.S. Opens. I understand what you're talking about.
yeah.
But the fact is, the Nicholas did win a bunch of them. So, Nicholas and
How many
Palmer,
did he win? Four?
yeah. Uh,
Well, that
I
ain't a
was at the
bunch.
Open. Here's the thing about golf, and I know a little bit about the game. I was in it for a long time. Wasn't play it, but I was in it. And it is a game where you have the certain class or culture of people that come with champions. John Daly brought in a bunch of rednecks in the game, and I knew John really well. I spent a lot of time with him. Arnold Palmer, when he won his famous driving the green at Cherry Hills in Denver in 1960. He had a legion of people, and they worshiped him. His home country, his club was Oakmont. That's where he played. Nobody's ever played in 5 opens in Oakmont but him. I was there when he played, and it came, and I remember seeing the working class people, the blue collar people. I was walking with Arnold when the guy came off of a Coca-Cola truck and stopped and was in awe and said, "Oh my gosh, Arnold Hall, I'm so happy to see you." He worshiped Arnold Palmer. I saw the kitchen help come out of Augusta National when Tiger was one of his first U.S. Open. So every group, every champion has had their group. I'm not sure who J.J. Spahns is, and I listened. You're right. It was the same course they gave up at 63 and to Johnny Miller in
That ain't the same
1963.
course.
But it's the same piece of ground.
Yeah, but it was I saw highlights of that. That's
No,
just
I
like
was
the
there,
song.
Shane. I know. I
Yeah.
understand. I'm
Yeah.
saying it's the same piece of ground.
Yeah, they just changed it up a little bit. Brandon says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, I thought the tournament was perfect except for the Burns ruling. He was in the fairway. I thought more about this, and the ruling is casual water. I think it's under your feet, right? When you're where you're standing in your stance, are
Yeah,
you drawing up any water? All I can now, obviously, where he was taking his practice swing, water was going everywhere.
right,
But I understand the ruling is, I think it's where your feet are. I mean, two rule officials gave the ruling,
right.
so I, you just got to go with it. That's the beauty about golf, right? They
Yeah,
have rules and you stick with them. There's no instant replays or any of that stuff.
yeah,
But
I
I
hear
thought it was phenomenal. And Norris wants to know who the greatest golfer you've ever seen, buddy.
Tiger Woods.
Yeah, Tiger.
My favorite golfer of all time was Jack Nicklaus. He was also my favorite athlete of all time because I knew him personally and I loved him and I knew he would just absolutely fill up your notebook and your video cam and whatever else you had. He was honest. He had an effort to reach out to the media. Now you've got Rory not speaking to the press. Okay, you want that fine, but don't come crying to me in 10 years when things are not so good and nobody's going to want to write about you. I mean, that's the thing. And I'm not saying you have to talk to the press. You have to do this. Jack Nicklaus didn't like it one bit when he beat Arnold Palmer, when he was 21 years old, and they called him Ohio Fats. That was his name that they gave him, Ohio, and he was fat and ugly. You know what he did? Did something about it. He lost 50 pounds, changed his hairdo, changed his personality. He did something about it. Rory's going through whatever he's going through with, and I acknowledge it's okay, but think about what you're doing. It's not the press you're hurting, it's the people who want to know more about you.
Yeah, I don't know if Rory even cares about that at this point.
Not now, but one day he might.
Yeah, this text here on the Titan and Mark text line says, Shane, did you see that Dudley Hart was bitten by a spider when he was out caddying for Noah Kent? I did. I saw the picture. It was gross.
No,
It
I
must
didn't
have
hear
been
that.
like a brown recluse or whatever those
Oh
things are
my
called.
gosh, that's dangerous.
Yeah. I don't know how he was bitten by, I'm curious how he was bitten or where he was
Yeah,
bitten.
yeah, me too.
But yeah, he had to give up caddying because his hand was swollen, black,
Oh my
purple,
gosh, there it
red.
is. Oh gosh,
There it
that,
is right there. It's on the
yeah,
screen, my buddy.
oh
Look at
my
that.
gosh, that's ugly. Wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
people can
Josh
die.
in Mississippi says, do either of you ever watch the Florida Gators hockey team play? Do you know where they play? They play in Jacksonville. So no, I've not seen them
No,
play.
I don't.
Yeah, they're very good though. They are very good. All right, buddy. Switching from golf to football.
Yeah,
Gators are tearing it up on the recruiting front.
I'm telling you, Shane, I don't remember anything like this happening in a long time, unless it was Urban. I've got the list of who Billy got commits from the last 15 days. And although you're not a recruiting guy, and I'm not either, but there's something going on in Gainesville. I have talked to my people there. I have a person who told me what's happening on the inside. And I'm not sure it's all due to building because the landscape's changed a lot on what's available. If you heard Luganville on Feinbaum saying it's good for the top 150 people, but not the rest of them. It's going to be tough for those kids, as you said many times before, getting finding a place to play. But what they're mopping up, and if you look at the list, and now the latest is they got this guy Tyler. I don't know how to say it. Chukwuem, I guess his name. He's committed. Another, they got these monster offensive linemen. They have a long list, and this is what I was told. You ain't seen nothing yet. The best is yet to come. Florida is blowing the lid off recruiting. That's what I'm told.
The Pouncey twins provide all of Gator Nation with the highest quality liqueurs made by J.F. Hayden Craft Liqueurs. Find your favorite, including the mango martini flavors at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We got Buddy Martin on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We'll have Mike Degory, former Gator offensive lineman, played. I think he's got the most snaps at center, or close to it when he played. He had the most. Coached college ball for a while. And he's also part of a football camp they're going to be putting on at Santa Fe High School with Ernest Graham. He'll give us all the details about that. John says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. I didn't know the show turned into the Golf Channel. John obviously needs to pick up a hobby.
I mean, people, this is what we love golf. We don't talk
There ain't
about
a damn
golf.
thing to talk about football right now.
Well, there's recruiting.
Yeah, but nobody cares about recruiting because I told you on your show last night, buddy.
I know, it's not
You
true.
can get excited, but none of these guys are guaranteed to be Gators. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here, but we see it year in and year out, regardless of what school you root for. Kid verbally commits. 2 weeks from now, he'll be wearing a Tennessee uniform, taking pictures on Twitter, right? That's what they do. And people get all fired up about it. Just let it play out. And when they sign on the dotted line, what, in December, then you can get excited about it.
Shane, that's the old school way of thinking. That's the get off my lawn kind of mentality.
No, it's a
I'm the
fact.
guy should have that attitude, not you. You're a key person around there. And let me just say,
Around where?
the Gators are blowing it up in recruiting. And by
And
the
I
way,
think it's great. I
well,
am
no, you
very
don't, because
excited
you don't
about
even
it.
talk about it. You don't even talk about it,
I
Shane.
don't because, buddy, let me ask you this question right now. For $5 between me and you,
Yeah.
all these guys that are committed, do you think
Yeah.
they all sign with the Gators?
And I'm gonna do what we're gonna do. You give me $5 for everyone that is, and I'll give you $2 for everyone that didn't.
Well, that's a bad bet.
All right, well, then you
That's
make
like
the
the
bet. Here's
that's
the
like
listen.
that's
You
like
make the
these
bet.
silly people that try to make stupid bets on the
I'm gonna
first
give you
tee.
the names of the people, and let's see
I
how
wouldn't
many
know
you
them if you
think.
told me their names. I don't even know what
But you
positions they
need to
play.
know them, Shane. I'm trying to educate you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And I can't pronounce her name. This guy. And look, let me tell you what's important. Have you ever bought a stock in your life?
Yeah, I don't mess. I mean, I have people that do all that.
Yeah. What did they tell you?
I don't even, I'm probably their best client because I don't even ask
Yeah.
questions.
Bottom line is they call you and tell you this is hot.
They don't even call me. I trust them. They go
What do
do it.
you think they buy on? What do you think they buy on?
Trends.
Well, I mean, the trends are important in football. This is a key trend. The trend of recruiting is up. I'm having people say to me, buddy, you don't understand. This is huge. Maybe I don't. I'm a kind of a little bit old school like you. I want to see them play. But these are the names.
I don't
And
need to see them play. I just need to see them in a Gator uniform before I get excited.
oh no, Shane, that's where you're wrong.
Okay.
You gonna wait till Christmas Day to be excited about your president? No. You get excited about it 10 days ahead or 2 weeks or years. This is what Gator fans do. And they have this, and Billy's been ripped for being a bad recruiter. And now he's
Mhm.
hot. And his class is suddenly moving up the rankings. Why do they have the recruiting rankings for? It doesn't matter. They have these rankings that are important, and other people see it. And what we've seen with DJ Lagway is he's the Pied Piper. And these kids are coming to play there, a lot of them because of him. Let me just give you four-star defensive lineman Jalen McCoy, four-star wide receiver Marquez Daniel, four-star running back Carson Baker, four-star wide receiver Justin Williams, four-star safety Caden Hall, four-star offensive tackle Tyler Chuyukum. They say he's a stud. Three-star tight end Kika Emug, three-star offensive tackle Chancellor Campbell, three-star interior lineman Gennaro Carr, three-star offensive tackle Javari Luca. Exactly. The old phrase, stay hot, Gator boys. It's going to get hotter and it's going to matter. And a lot of those guys are going to be playing on Saturdays.
Hopefully for us, right? Yeah,
Right.
Joseph says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Maloff, we don't win any games this fall, nothing else matters.
Hey, Dick Tracy. Wow, there's a great thought. Of course, you have to win. Look, folks, it's happening before your very eyes. Be grateful that you get to see this team grow. As I was told last night by somebody, don't expect a championship in 2025, but maybe you can expect one in 2026.
So John wants us to talk about baseball, I think. He must be a
Okay.
baseball guy.
All right.
So John says you spent 30 seconds talking about the Arkansas pitcher. I don't know what else to say. He threw a no-hitter and hit one batter, or he had a perfect game. Ohtani was the starting pitcher for the Dodgers last night. He hasn't pitched in almost 2 years.
Mhm.
Um, they
Yeah.
won.
By the way, ESPN took it off the air. They had it on for a while and took it off. I
I
watched
c-
it.
I could care less of anything that happens in Los Angeles.
Well, I think Otani's a huge story. I mean, he is
He
special.
is.
He is something special. And I love seeing him go back to the mound, and it was a story. But we don't talk about every national story. That's not what we do here. We talk about things that we know something about, care about. I just spent at least a minute raving about Gage Wood. Absolutely. I talk about how impressed I was. He's our kind of guy. He went over and saw Connor Cunningham, his teammate, and consoled him after the game. I talked about that. But we can't talk about everything everybody wants to hear. And by the way, they come in and come out of the show. They're not listening all the time. So, yeah, what do you want us to talk about? What's happening that we things we care about? We're going to talk about golf, whether you like it or not. And Shane's going to talk about recruiting, whether he likes it or not.
Speaking of that, text on the Titan Mark text line from Jimmy. He says, buddy, out of all the people you just mentioned, which player do you like the best?
Golf?
No, I think he's talking about the kids that are verbally committed to the Gators.
I don't know anything about them. I'm admitted to you, I don't know anything about them. But I just know their ratings. I know what the trends. I don't know about the stock market, but I know IBM is still pretty good, right? And so I don't know them. I'm interested to. I'm trying to leave the door open to learn something about these people. I've always got video. Look, I call my shots on Jaden Baugh. I call my shots on DJ Lagway. I don't know enough about these kids yet till I see them in uniform. On that part, I agree with you, Shane. But it looks like the trend is up for sure.
We're on 71 on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing says, what about the playoffs in 2025, buddy? Would you agree that should be an expectation in year four for Napier?
I don't know if expectation is the right word. I think maybe anticipation would be that there's a good chance. I don't think he'll lose his job if he isn't in there. A lot depends on what happens to the other teams as well. There's a lot I don't know about this season. There's so many uncertainties. But the answer is to me, yes. I think if you ask me now today, based on what I hear, and Lagway being like what I've seen him play and play his practices, I'm gonna say 9 wins is a reality. 9 wins will get you in the playoff if it's the right nine.
Yeah, we need to be in the playoffs this year, in my opinion.
Or what?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
know the answer to that. I'm just saying, I just think the amount of money being spent, the players you're bringing in, your best roster, you have to win this
I
year.
agree. It's 9 wins to be one improvement. I think it depends on what the nine are. If one of them's Georgia, yeah, I'd say that would be it. But right now, it's still the same old guys you got to beat. You got to beat the same guys again to get there. And Georgia is one of them. Texas, it seems to be in a class. That's what I love about this season. We get to see Texas in the swamp and what is supposedly the best quarterback of all time. And he's good. I'll give you that. Manning is a terrific player. It's going to be an exciting season. I got to give Billy kudos. He's got something going on there. He's building, I hate to use the words culture. He's got good things happening, and this team can beat anybody on their schedule.
I agree with that. This text here from George on the Titan Mark text line is very long. I'm trying to paraphrase here. He basically is talking about the amount of money being thrown around to recruits in today's world. Basically, I touched on this yesterday. He's kind of saying, you know, are these kids committing because of the money they're being given, or because they could flip at any moment if school X calls. I talked about this with who was this? I guess Blake Alderman was on last week. Because kids are getting paid right now, even though they're still in high school, which is crazy to believe. That's just the way the game is being played right now. Um, that's another reason why I can't get excited about. I mean, excited. I think it's great momentum. I think the recruiting people, the coaches, everybody's doing the right thing. But until they sign and become Gators, and again, they could be here for 1 year and then they haul ass, right? That's just how the world works today. It's hard to get excited. Somebody on here said something they want to they can't get excited about these kids because they don't even know, are they going to be here 5 months? They're going to be here 3 years, So
It's
we
the
never know.
way the game is played today. Get used to it. You can complain about it all you want to. And yes, there's a lot of money. Shane, how much is your house worth 15 years ago? 500,000 maybe? It's what's it worth today? 900,000 probably. The market changes. It's different. And this is not the way it was done.
It's
Now
it's
you get
not,
paid.
but here's what I don't like, buddy. I'm the owner, you're the owner of Gator Bait Magazine. You recruit me out of high school to come write for you. So you give me $10,000 a month. All right. After 6 months of high school, you've paid me $60,000. Uh, the Tomahawk Nation, I don't even know what the hell the name of their paper is up there. They say, you know what? We're going to give you 15,000 a month. So I'm going to flip my commitment, but I don't have to pay you any money back. That's where I have a problem with all this.
It's called contracts. They're going to have to
There
have,
ain't no contracts whenever the
they're
kids are
going to
still in high
have to
school.
have them in the NIL deals.
But I'm saying that's what's happening right now while kids are in high school.
I get it. It's going to have to sort itself out. It's going to take a bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't know. I don't even know until they're on campus, I don't know how you can even police all of this. You still can't police it
I
then,
don't
so
know that you can. It's
you can't.
impossible.
Yeah,
But we're supposed to keep up with this. We're commentators.
yeah, that's why I waste 0 minutes in my life worrying about it.
Shane, you don't worry about anything, okay?
I do. I worry about people, golfers who get upset when they hit it in the rough or in the trees and they bitch and complain.
That's high priority right there now, man. Never
I'm
mind the
like,
bombs dropping around you and all
I'm
that
like,
stuff.
why are you worried about this? Because you're on a route because you didn't hit it in the fairway. So,
No,
uh,
Shane, I got to get you another hobby besides golf.
no,
I got to find
no,
you something else. You play bridge?
no, I don't do cards. I like playing blackjack. That's it. But I don't play
Yeah.
poker. I need somebody to come take my entire football, baseball, basketball card collection and tell me
Yes.
what it's worth.
Yes. Yeah, it's probably worth a
So,
fortune.
buddy, here, before we get out of here, so my parents, they came in the Mississippi high school education system, so
Right.
we didn't come from a lot of money. But I never made a B in my life until I came to college. I made A's starting in first grade all the way through high school, and for every A, I was giving a box of either baseball, football, or basketball cards, the ones that aren't even opened, right? The problem what these collectors tell me is this is in the 70s through the 80s that the cards, I guess they mass produce too many or whatever, but they're not worth as much, which is
Right.
bull crap because I have thousands in mint condition.
Yeah.
So anyway, got off a
Well, that's
tangent.
a good thing to get into. Get someone who's interested in cards. It's a fantastic. I mean, look, you remember the Don Rush collection? Came along after Top. That was about that time. Brendan had a guy give him a new set every year for 5 years, all of them. He went out and bought some cards. He got Roger Clemens and whatever. But I don't know what. It's a good question. How do you find that? Let's make that a mission. Okay, there's one hobby for you. Get your cards straightened out. You like to cook?
I mean, I'll cook on the grill, but I'm not going to go buy a bunch of ingredients and try new recipes.
So you don't cook. Just
No,
throw a steak on the
that's
grill
too
or
much
something.
work. Too much work.
I
All right,
got.
buddy.
Well, I got to find you one more. I'm working on it. I'll let you know next
Yeah,
time.
give me a hobby,
I'm gonna give
and
you a hobby.
we'll talk about it next week. Buddy, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week. That's
All right,
Buddy
thanks.
Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll talk to former Gator offensive lineman Mike Degory. They got a big camp coming up in July. It's free at Santa Fe High School, and we'll talk all about it. You're watching and listening to PodUp Matthews in the Morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union,
International Diamond Center,
Meldon Law, QC Kinetics, Dave & Buster's, UF Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute, JF Hayden Craft Liqueurs, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Los Linderos Tequila. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sporting Goods, Comfort Temp, Electronics World, Florida Victorious, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Meals Cheesesteak, Celebrate Primary Care, Dowling Signs, Gator Bait Media, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, Okido America, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Nest and Wow, MG&A Wealth Management. Follow and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. To become a sponsor, call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Coach, you know what always impressed me? How you beat Florida State to win the 1996 National Championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Linderos tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Linderos tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Linderos tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Linderos.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
I'm tired of you living in pain, and I want you to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, back, shoulders, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Stop putting it off. Call now and schedule your free consultation. Call QC Kinetics now in Gainesville, Ocala, and the Villages. 352-400-4550. 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call, 352-240-1779. Go back to the Titan More hotline courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by former Gator offensive lineman Mike Degory, who also coached a lot of college football, now back in the Palm Bay area. Mike, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, let's briefly touch on the camp that's coming up, and then I want to talk a little bit about your coaching career and your playing career. It's called the Florida Community Football Camp. It's free to see youngsters. We're going to do it at Santa Fe High School, where Ernest Graham is the head football coach. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so this is the second year that we've had the Florida Community Football Camp. The first year was actually at Astronaut High School. And Aaron Walker, former astronaut alumni, actually hosted the camp. And myself, and along with Rob Roberts, Rob Roberts was really kind of the initiator of this idea of trying to bring back a sense of community, not only for us as former players, but also really for these small towns that really we all kind of came from. So, Rob was really kind of the chairman of this and, brought it to our attention. And I think Aaron really welcomed the idea to bring it to Astronaut High School. And we had, huge success last year. And we kind of want to continue this thing on. It's great for us as, former, teammates to continue to communicate and to do something and give back to the community. And that's where I really think the idea was kind of birthed from. So, yeah, so we're at this year, at least our rendition is going to be at Santa Fe High School, where Ernest Graham is going to be our host, and not only our host, but also the head football coach there. And, he's bringing, portions of his staff to kind of help us and some of his players, very similar to what we did at Astronaut. And then, several or, a couple dozen, former UF football players, that played in the NFL at a variety of different places, but all have ties from different ages and different generations of Florida football to go out there and kind of support these local communities. And, this year we're going to have it at, Santa Fe High School.
And it's, I want to say it's for real young kids, right? Like 6 years to 12-year-olds.
We're looking for 6 to 12 years old. Kids that are just really want to go ahead and have exposure to, fun, activities related to football, and, just to kind of meet and shake hands with some of the Gator greats. And, not really looking for, the level of high school kids, but, middle school to, elementary school kids are more than welcome to come. 6 through 12 is kind of the age group that we would have, but, plenty of people will hopefully can travel from the Gainesville area, the greater Gainesville area, to go ahead and make it Santa Fe for us. I know we had a huge reception here locally last year in Brevard County. People were traveling up Brevard County to go to have the camp there at Astronaut. So we felt, we had a lot of support. So it's free. It's intended for kids of that age in order to make sure that they just understand, what football kind of brings them and what the sense of community, even these the Gators have, after all these generations of even years playing together.
Is there a website, or do kids just show up, or do they need to sign up?
Florida, yep, I got you. FloridaCommunityFootballCamp.org. FloridaCommunityFootballCamp.org. And then for those guys that are former alumni, we're always welcoming them to come back and join us. They probably have an email, or maybe had somebody reach out to them on a personal level who's also a former teammate, inviting them to the camp. How that kind of works for on our end is it's basically 24 hours that we kind of commit to kind of come together as former teammates. And sometimes we play golf or go bowling. This year we're actually going to get a tour of the new facility there that the Gators have. And so I know a lot of those guys from out of town are really excited to come back and see what they've built. And we're going to do that tour, then go out and have some dinner and have some social time for ourselves to reconnect. And then Saturday morning we go full swing with the camp, and we're committed to the camp until that last camper ends and has a good time.
That's awesome. So again, we're going to have Ernest Graham on as it gets closer in the month of July to talk about it as well. But it's July 12th, FloridaCommunityFootballCamp.org. Go sign your kid up. A lot of Gators will be out there 9 a.m. On July the 12th. Mike, you had a tremendous career at Florida. Obviously, you played a ton of games at center. Ron Zook was your head coach. You went on and coached with him at Illinois when y'all had really good teams, went to the Rose Bowl. You coached at New Mexico. Just go back to your playing days here at Florida. Tell me, what was one of the highlights, one of the games, or something that stands out in your mind the most about your playing career at Florida?
Oh, well, I mean, it does come down, and I think you would have most players kind of resonate this. It's those times that you were just, maybe on the bus or in the locker room or in the training room, or just, goofing off and just having a sense of identity with them and just being yourselves. I mean, certainly when you think about some of the games that come to mind is the upset for LSU. There was obviously some key games really when I was early on that we were lighting people up offensively, and it kind of had that reconnection later in the year, or some of just the impactful plays that we had and the players that we had really just made such dynamic plays that I think also kind of stand out to me, just how athletic they really were. I remember Ben Troop hurdling this guy live, and I just being there on this field, you're just amazed just by the feat that these guys can really do. But if I had to choose a game, I really think the LSU game that we went to LSU and Coach Zook, and we were kind of the underdogs. And we just went in there and we just kind of grinded them out, and LSU went on to, share the national title. And we felt we were, the better team, at least that Saturday. And if I had to pick that game, I think that would be one. Personally, I think my senior night, leaving the swamp and been in farewell to the swamp was really important to me. And, in some portion of my legacy, just of how many starts and, and what I did for that program and for that, team. And I think that being the game, then, as far as the team win, I really think it was that upset there at LSU that year.
Do you still have the most starts at center?
I believe so. I still think I'm tied with another Gator who has as many starts as I do. I don't know how this whole new dynamic with transfer and how long guys can play post COVID. I don't know if I've been affected by that. I know what I kind of stood for, and they got their money's worth out of me. I played every game, every Saturday they had me out there and in some position or another, and I continued to contribute. That was important to who I am. If people on a personal level who know me, they just know how important I take everything that I do, and football was also a big component of that.
Andy's question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law, says, Mike, how would you compare the coaching styles of Ron Zook, Urban Meyer, and Mike Locksley?
Well, I would say, there's also another guy there who I was recruited by Coach Spurrier.
That's right.
And had to go there, with Coach Spurrier. I just love the way that he seemed just to be a character of, college football. And I immediately identified with him. When he left to go to, the Redskins, there was a little bit of, a changeover with Coach Zook. Coach Zook came in with a little bit more of I would say like a pure NFL style, as far as, focusing an immense amount of time on special teams and other areas that I think he had his expertise in. Urban was a different guy. I think also a new character of what college football, had become. A high-profile person who wanted to have this certain amount of media attention. I think where Spurrier had it, just out of necessity of just how eccentric he was. Where I think Urban at times lusted after it. And then Mike Locksley. I know Mike Locksley personally. When I worked with Mike, I think we did a really good job together. I know his family. I care about his family. I care about him and the job that he's doing. Mike allowed you to be a coach. Locks continues to do that. I know he's on the forefront of reconnecting people with, CTE, and I know he does a really good job behind the scenes because he has a personal connection to that, and I admire him for that and that effort. But they're all different. I really resonated with Coach Spurrier as a kid, and as I've kind of grown to be an adult, I really connect with Coach Zook and the job that he did. And I think as a player, we left him a little unfulfilled because they're a really talented team back in those years that he was there. I just really couldn't seem to kind of get those dynamics all together. And I think a lot of the success that followed, and I think many people have also kind of contributed that to, the establishment and really the structure that Coach Zook kind of did in regards to recruiting. And, I know many of those guys that played on, both of those teams as well between Zook and Urban. And I think they would say, tip of the hat to the work that Coach Zook did as far as recruiting and just building those guys with a sense of character.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I'm curious, you went on to coach with Zook at Illinois, having played at Florida in the SEC. Was there a huge difference in like the Big Ten at that time? I think nowadays with all the money that's being thrown around, there wouldn't be that big of an adjustment. But did you go like walk onto the Illinois campus and go,
oh yeah,
what is this? I mean, I've never been there. I'm just assuming what it may look like. But give us a little touch on how that was when you made that transition to Illinois.
Right. I do want to echo your point. I think there's been a leveling in college football as far as these places were, and to give you a little bit of a reference of where I started. I was at the University of Illinois from 06, right, to 07. And it was kind of that new age in many ways where I think you had a lot of dominance from, the Ohio States at that time in the Big Ten, some other ones, but a new dynamic of speed, a new dynamic of the level of defensive line play, I think was kind of new there in the Big, 10. And I know that Coach Zook, especially at Illinois, did a great job reaching out to, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, guys that were, big, skilled people down in the South. And a guy named like Corey Legit comes to mind, who played at Illinois, who is from Miami. And we just brought these guys up. And I think other people within the Big Ten had already kind of maybe started that dynamic as well. And I think the level of defense and offensive line play in the Big Ten has changed dynamically. And I think that brought a new level of athlete to the Big Ten that kind of followed. I do believe that I think there's probably less margin of difference between the SEC and the Big Ten, but I do think there was a point in time in college football saw that there was a set of skill. I really think defensive line and maybe portions of offensive skill receivers and tailbacks that hadn't really arrived in the Big Ten until, later in the 2000s there. But, that's a humble opinion of just one. I do feel as if how college football continues to dynamic with the transfer portal, each team's going to be more elite. And as each team becomes more elite, you're going to have these teams coming from each conference that just continues to have elite play, individual play. But also, as you start to see these separations of the conference, I think there's just going to be more and more people playing at an elite level.
Florida Crackers, the brand for original Floridians, great food and Southern hospitality in the center of the universe, Brooksville, Florida, floridacracker.com. A few more minutes with Mike Degory, former center for the Florida Gators. A text here on the Titan Mart text line from Larry. He says, Mike, I know you coach high school football. How difficult is it to deal with high school kids with all this recruiting nonsense?
Wow. That's a really good question. It's a different era with high school as well. I think, I don't know if entitlement's the right word, but that's the word I'm going to use here live on air, where these kids and at times, sometimes parents, they see what these people have put in a lot of work have. And, as a high school kid, that doesn't really connect or resonate until they understand what these people have done and how much sacrifice they had to make to have all the success they've had, especially where it comes to, we're, speaking here specifically of high school football. The transfer within high school, I wish there was a little bit more of a firmer grip as far as what they would allow them to do, but we're living the era of a lot of parental rights and parents having the ability to move their kids around. And I think it does allow to these kids to move to transfers. I see it in the high school level more through the perspective of the kids at times. They don't really have any loyalties to the school. They have loyalties at times to maybe their 7-on-7 team or who their friends are, and they're willing to move schools along. I have lost kids. I've gotten kids in transfers as well, but at that time of the day, trying to teach kids lessons to be, husbands and wives and better men moving forward. And if that's the case, I think the transfer portal just kind of enables people in the short term, not necessarily the long term. So I've always kind of been against it. Although I will say I probably lost more than I've won when it comes to it. But I think at the same time, you're who you are as a person and who you're going to do, what you're going to do, and how you're going to perform as a coach. Shouldn't just be so short-term minded of just pulling a kid across just to go ahead and win a couple of games. And that's, again, in another opinion that I think most people probably would say no to.
Text here on the Titan Mart text line from Jackson in Shreveport, Louisiana. He says, Mike, what are your thoughts on Billy Napier, and what is your prediction of the Gators' record this year?
All right. Well, go Gators first off. I think Coach is really reloaded with talent. I know people personally connected, more on the alumni side, and they're really excited about the team that we have. I have a player myself, and I coached Jamari Lyons, who was a Vieira kid for me, and I'm excited about him returning for this season. So shout out to Jamari and all the work that I know he's been doing to recover from that injury. I'm excited. We always go to see at least maybe one game a year, or at least try to make it usually one of the later games in November when it cools down. But I really feel as if there's a lot of momentum for the team that adds to some pressure amongst the coaching staff. But I really feel that this group might be really kind of Coach's group. And I feel if it's not this year, I think he's going to have to answer some more questions. But I feel as a Gator that this is going to be a really breakout year for the Florida Gators.
Yeah. All right. Last thing, we'll get you out of here. This is a good text on the Titan Mart text line from Sharon. Sharon says, Mike, being a center, your thoughts on how Jake Slaughter played last year?
Oh my gosh, great player. Absolute great player. I really feel like a guy who understands all the dynamics that it takes to be a center, understands the leadership position for it. I think he's going to have a very bright future. I wish him the best of health. I wish him the ability to continue to have success. And I think once he has some success there, I think really the sky's the limit to him. He comes from a history of other great centers that played there at Florida. I mean, we all know some of the Pounceys and the Pouncey twins and their dynamics, and the guys before me who, there's a list, and guys that work in the camp. I mean, it's so funny to think about how many centers that actually work in this camp. It shows you the type of leadership that I know Slaughter has as well. So great player. I love to watch him. He's also right next to a guy by Bryce Lovett, who I kind of know personally because he was at Rockledge High School when I was at Vieira, so somewhat of a rivalry, but we knew that he was going to go to the Gators. He's also a Brevard County guy, and they've also had a lot of success there at the Gators. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the interior play of the Florida Gators this year, because I know there's some strength there on the defensive line, and I know there's some strength in the interior offensive line too. So hopefully that's going to win some games, some key games to the Gators in the future.
Awesome. Before we get you out of here, one last time, the website, the camp is July 12th, but give people the website one more time.
Yeah, Florida Community Camp. It's here, FloridaCommunityFootballCamp.org. Florida Community Football Camp, and that's reaching out to anybody in the Santa Fe area. It's July 12th at 9 a.m. You want to sign up, your child. It's 6 through 12 years old. FloridaCommunityFootballCamp.org. There's going to just basically be, a document for you to go ahead and fill out so we can get the shirt size for your camper. And take care of the kids. To come that day, we have, lunch provided for them. They're going to meet, several Gators, tons of Gators, if we can say that. But we're all there just supporting. And I know that Ernest Graham is going to come back on and kind of speak to a little bit more as it approaches. But, come out and support us. This is basically a group of Gators that are not getting anything from it, just a sense of community with each other. But again, July 12th at 9 a.m. at Santa Fe High School, and FloridaCommunityFootballCamp.org for the website.
Good stuff, my friend. Appreciate your time. We'll keep pumping the camp, and good luck to Palm Bay this year, my man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, and kudos, and go Gators.
That's Mike Degory, great center here at the University of Florida. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. When Urban Meyer wanted to introduce his high-quality tequila to the Gator Nation, he made sure to get it to the HBC and his team at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Dorn's Liquors. Go beyond with smooth Los Landeros tequila. Again, thanks to Buddy Martin and Mike Degory for joining us today on the program. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.